Rayvis from Star Wars Jedi Survivor has put the Gendai species back in the Star Wars spotlight again, and probably their most prominent appearance since Durge was introduced in the Clone Wars microseries. So here's everything you need to know about their species. Most of the information comes from Legends sources, but what we saw of Rayvis in the video game matches up well enough that I think we can consider it all still true. And by the way, there will be some Survivor spoilers in the video if you haven't finished it yet. Gendai were a boneless species made up of thick, basically strings of muscles and nerves. In their natural state, they didn't have much of a form, so they would wear large suits of armor to give themselves a basic shape. They didn't have hearts or lungs or any vital organs. If a group of muscles were cut off, they were able to reattach the missing limb or simply regenerate it rather quickly. By the way, Rayvis's response to Dagan Gera's threat of cutting out his tongue is such a great line.
Say it again and I'll cut out your tongue.
It'll grow back.
No human could say that. It's something so outside of our own experience, but we still understand it because we're Star Wars nerds. I love that, but I digress. Gendai were nearly indestructible, and they could live for thousands of years. Legends sets their average lifespan at anywhere from 4 to 7 millennia. Because of this, they had a reputation of being effectively immortal. If they did somehow take enough severe damage, they were able to hibernate and heal until they were as good as new. As of right now, we only know of 2 ways a Gendai could seemingly be killed. In the Legends comics, Durge's body was vaporized when Anakin Skywalker sent him rocketing into a star, so complete incineration would work. The second was the destruction of the brain, which is how Rayvis died. We don't get to fully see his death. I think the cutscenes in the game imply that he was beheaded, but I will assume Cal cut straight through his head to destroy his brain, because a simple decapitation wouldn't have worked. Rayvis could have regenerated or rejoined with the rest of his body, but that would have been pretty gruesome to show in a Star Wars video game, and I think it also would have raised more questions and caused confusion to people who didn't know what a Gendai was. And it would have been silly for Rayvis to be like, "Give me my warrior's death, but, make sure to cut through my head or else I'll come back and get ya." Anyway, I think we can all assume that information to still be canon. Rayvis embodies the regeneration very blatantly on screen, and established physiology in Star Wars has a tendency to remain consistent from Legends to canon. Now I'm going to talk about their history and society and all that, which I think could be changed down the line. Despite Rayvis and Durge being very violent, the Gendai were originally a peaceful people. Their homeworld was discovered by the Sith thousands of years before the events of the Star Wars films, and they were nearly wiped out. The survivors became travelers across the galaxy. As they aged for thousands of years, their brains deteriorated, which made them increasingly violent. Some of them, like Durge, took up jobs as mercenaries and bounty hunters. And like I said, Durge is canon once again, albeit in a different time period. He was killed shortly before the end of the Clone Wars and Legends, but now he is back, briefly appearing in the Dr. Aphra comics, where he was left to drift through space. But he'll be appropriately returning in the Bounty Hunters comics starting in June for a more prominent role, and all of that takes place in between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Hopefully, Rayvis and Durge will drive more interest in this species that has gained a large following despite what I would consider to be pretty limited appearances throughout all of Star Wars, but they're such interesting characters. There is potential to see either of them again thousands of years earlier in an Old Republic story where they could be completely different, maybe more peaceful, who knows? I think that sounds awesome. But that's everything you need to know about the Gendai. Let me know if there are any other alien species you'd like me to cover in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.